'Cause you've made yourselves thrones. You've no shame.
Only pride. You should know that by now.
If there's further death or bloodshed, your punishments will be worse.
Erasure of identity.
Isolation prison terms for the infinite duration of the universe.
Working for the division must be so compromising.
Stasis fields, now!
We shall not be contained!
Hello, and welcome back to my series on the history of Gallifrey. In part 4 we shall be taking a look at the Rassilon Era, the start of Rassilon's inconceivably lengthy rule over Gallifrey's empire. So, without further ado, let's begin. In year 0 of the Rassilon Era, Rassilon retrieved the Eye of Harmony and stored it in a vault beneath the capital as a source of power. The Eye acted as the hitching post for the Web of Time. With his 5 principles, Rassilon led Gallifrey into a more enlightened age, including the abolition of slavery. The Matrix was set up during the reign of Rassilon. Following damage to the Time Vortex, a robotic construction, Dawn 726-Alpha Continua, was set up to repair the damage. The game of Rassilon was a blood sport played in the death zone of Gallifrey using the Time Scoop, which relocated beings from all of time and space, except for the Daleks and the Cybermen, who were considered too good at the game, and placed them in the death zone to fight in a battle royale. Despite being called the game of Rassilon, he didn't actually set it up, but abolished it entirely during his rule. 20 years after the loss of Omega, the Special Executive retrieved Fenris from the Time Vortex for interrogation. In the question hall of the Prydonian chapter, the parahuman Viridian discovered he was working for the Black Sun. However, before she could obtain more information, Black Sun assassins teleported into the hall and massacred the assembled Time Lords, killing Fenris to silence him. They then departed, leaving the Time Lords no closer to understanding the Black Sun. Sometime after the creation of TARDISes, the Time Lords and the fledgling empires waged the Racnoss Wars against the Racnoss, wiping out their entire species save for the Empress and her children. Officially to all Gallifreyans, all the Racnoss's Huon energy was destroyed. Unofficially, however, it was incorporated into Gallifreyan time travel machines, though only in trace amounts. One of Rassilon's great engineers was Artron, who had been responsible for discovering Artron energy. Eventually, he travelled to Kolstan, where he experimented on the native Kolstani to see if their abilities with temporal energy could be used to enhance regeneration. He encountered the Bruce Master, who attempted to force him to transfer the Kolstani's powers to him. Artron instead transferred them into himself, resulting in the Kolstani being starved of temporal energy and becoming the Ravenous. At the same time, Rassilon sent a fleet of time ships to destroy Kolstan. The Ravenous were attracted to Time Lords to feed on their regeneration energy and became a collective nightmare for the Time Lords, attacking their pioneers. Rassilon led the near-genocide of the Ravenous, with all except one clan being wiped out. The survivors were imprisoned in a pocket dimension. Artron's disappearance remained a mystery, with a statue of him being displayed in the Panopticon. 10 years after the Question Hall massacre, Gallifrey had its first formal contact with the Order of the Black Sun at trade negotiations over uranium on Deswalt. The Time Lord and Black Sun ambassadors developed a good relationship and agreed to divide the uranium equally. The budding diplomatic partnership was sabotaged by the Sontaran ambassador Brillox, who used a psi snare on Millenium, a parahuman who was part of the Time Lord delegation, and had her assassinate the Black Sun Elder at the closing ceremony of the negotiations. This began the Black Sun War, leading to the Order initiating the attacks that Gallifrey had experienced in the past, essentially making it one of the first Time Wars. The Time Lords tried doing business with the Hoothi. The Hoothi later caused a war on one of the worlds which Gallifrey was negotiating, and later attacked Gallifrey itself using a Time Lord ambassador as a host. The Time Lords struck back with a counterattack and put the Hoothi worlds in time loop. The Hoothi, therefore, were forced to leave the galaxy. During Rassilon's rule, the Time Lords fought a war against the Vondrax. As the Time Lords were about to win, the Vondrax created a paradox which erased one of Rassilon's generals from the timeline, leaving only his wife able to remember him. Her attempts to change time and restore her husband led her to eventually become the Watchmaker. During a conflict with the Nestenes, the Time Lords managed to contain them to the Ilia galaxy. During the conflict, a Gallifreyan scientist named Roppen, known as the almost successor to Omega, recreated a galaxy-eating weapon called the Eye of Discord into the Moment. Rassilon took the moment under the condition it would be used only once, which he did on the Nestenes, locking it in the capital's Omega arsenal after he was finished, staying true to the terms of the agreement. According to the 11th General, the moment was the last work of the Ancients of Gallifrey. After dreaming of a future Time Lord Empire that used its power to suppress the weak of the universe, Rassilon instituted the non-interference policy. It would be remembered that the policy was created due to the damage done by the Time Lords to other lesser species, including the minions and the inhabitants of Clist and Plastridus 14. Rassilon's rule as it went on began to move closer to despotism, with Gallifrey's borders being sealed off. With hostility against the natural-born rising, Patience, one of the last womb-born Gallifreyans, was taken by her husband to the machine for safety, a prototype TARDIS. According to one account, the slide into tyranny forced the other to send his granddaughter Susan and her nanny to the spaceport for safety. Then he cast himself into the prime distributor of the looms, unweaving him. The division was founded on Gallifrey, to intervene at times when policy and reality diverged. An incarnation of the Timeless Child was recruited into its ranks. Over time, the division grew in size and influence across the cosmos, recruiting agents from every species. Notably, the division resolved the siege of Atropos, in which 2 Ravagers had discovered the Temple of Atropos and seized it, evicting the Muri and therefore endangering the Web of Time. 4 agents of the division, including the Fugitive Doctor and Carbonista, were dispatched. The Doctor's plan to restore the Muri succeeded, though multiple passenger forms filled with millions of hostages were erased by the Ravagers during the confrontation. The Ravagers were then taken and imprisoned by the division. 150 million years before Christ, in Earth terms, Rassilon defied the non-interference policy and led the Time Lords against the mad mind of Boffa Merrill in the Millennium War, one of the first Time Wars to involve most advanced races, such as the Demons, the Sirens, Exelons, and a Centauran-written alliance. During the war, the Time Lords received help from groups in their future, such as the Mask Makers of the Pageant, the Ministers of Grace, and, more importantly, Faction Paradox. The war ended when the Naimon and the Osirans dropped 10 million quantum collapsars into the Mad Mind. When the mind was breached, the Time Lords caught it in a time loop, forcing it to repeat the same nanoseconds over and over again. After the war ended, the survivors met at the Midnight Cathedral on Earth's moon, asking the Guardians of Time to erase their memories of the Millennium War, which they did with the Key to Time. One legend said that despite Rassilon's great achievements, the Time Lords rebelled against him, and he was imprisoned within the Dark Tower of the Death Zone. Rassilon survived both in the Tower and in the Matrix. And that is the story of the Rassilon Era, the height of Gallifrey's power. While technologically this was only the beginning, it is where all major inventions were, well, invented. These ancient devices were still most powerful in their field for millennia after their initial inception, especially the moment. But anyway guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below, as it really helps out the channel. Videos have been slow recently, but I am trying to rectify the situation since we are getting so much closer to 700 subscribers every day, which I really thank you for. But, as always, thanks for watching.